Mariah Carey is easily one of the most visible pop and R&B legends of her time, amassing smash hit after smash hit, famously accumulating 19 #1 hits during the duration of her well-established career. The songbird supreme is known for her extensive vocal range and catchy songwriting style. She experienced loads of commercial success from the moment she whistled onto the airwaves in 1990 with Vision of Love. Being that she debuted at the start of the 90s, evidently she achieved the bulk of her commercial success during that decade, the height of her success being her third album, 1993's Music Box, which brought us beloved classics like the skyrocketing empowerment ballad Hero, and the gospel-inspired buddy romance anthem Anytime You Need a Friend. Music Box has reportedly sold nearly 30 million copies worldwide, and is her highest-selling release globally, and one of the best-selling albums by a female artist. By no surprise, she had continued good fortune after this album, but what was a bit surprising is the choice that was made to follow up her most successful album. She followed it up with a Christmas album. Now, to understand the unconventional nature of this move, you would have to understand the history of Christmas albums, which is actually quite simple. During the time that Mariah Carey would release her holiday album, Christmas albums were still a thing that mostly older and more matured artists would release. It was unlikely for artists still in their prime to release one, especially so early on. In fact, just to name a few of the singers to release a Christmas album the same year, which happened to be 1994, you'll notice that the artists were more seasoned. Diana Ross released a very special season. Diana Ross is a legendary artist who had her commercial peak in the 60s and 70s. Donna Summer, one of the quintessential female vocalists of the 70s and the absolute queen of disco, released Christmas Spirit in 1994, and the unforgettable Natalie Cole released a holiday album titled Holly and Ivy that same year. Although experiencing quite a bit of success in the 90s, she had made her debut in the 70s, showing a consistent pattern of mostly more mature singers being the first to add a holiday classic to their discography during this time. In 1994, when Mariah Carey released Merry Christmas, that changed quite a bit. You saw younger priming artists like the entirety of the 90s teen pop scene being more keen to Christmas releases. In 2014, Mariah's frequent collaborator Walter Afanasieff is quoted saying, "Back then you didn't have a lot of artists with Christmas albums. It wasn't a known science at all back then, and there was nobody who did new big Christmas songs." But what exactly prompted Mariah to create and release a Christmas album? Mariah's fascination with Christmas started when she was a young girl. She never really had the perfect Christmas because her family was quite dysfunctional and would get ruined by arguments and what Mariah describes as a torrent of verbal abuse. She would have to witness this between her siblings and mother almost every single year. Her personal experiences from when she was younger essentially created an escapist mindset, where she dreamed of having the perfect Christmas, and that would later inspire her Christmas record. A lot of singers say they love Christmas music and Christmas time, but it's mostly said as a marketing statement to get people to feel more connected so they can buy their Christmas album. Mariah's approach feels more genuine, and not only because her Christmas music is undeniable greatness, but because knowing her personal history with the holidays, it's like her music is supplying listeners with the joy she didn't frequently experience as a kid during the holiday season. Especially since a lot of her Christmas music was inspired by her escapist Christmas world that she built with her imagination when she was younger. Tommy Mottola, her ex-husband and record executive, was the person that recommended she record her Christmas album, and Mariah ultimately made the right decision by choosing to do so. Mariah wrote All I Want for Christmas Is You at only 22 years old. The song was inspired by her younger self's vision of Christmas. All I Want for Christmas Is You is the quintessential modern-day Christmas song, and one of the best Christmas songs of all time, whether modern or aged. Many acts today have tried to emulate and recreate a song this infectious, but no one has ever topped it. It fits right in with both aged and modern Christmas songs, and it has worked its way up to becoming the definitive Christmas standard. All I Want for Christmas Is You actually didn't chart on Billboard Hot 100 when it was first released, due to old rules of songs only being able to chart if they were released as a single. Over the years, it snowballed into what it is now, and finally reached the #1 spot in 2019, carrying over into 2020, becoming the first #1 single of the 20s decade, extending Mariah's record for the most #1 hits for a solo artist, a record-breaking 19 #1s. Although All I Want for Christmas Is You is the standout track and a much-beloved classic, the entire Merry Christmas album is excellent, and ultimately the perfect combination of R&B, pop, soul, and gospel. It is a classic Christmas album from beginning to end. Even the Mariah modified covers of Oh Holy Night, Hark the Herald Angels Sing, and Silent Night are worth the listen. Mariah has a total of 3 originals on this album, with the inclusion of All I Want for Christmas Is You. The rest being Miss You Most at Christmas, which is essentially a Christmas take on the pop balladry that she became known for, and the second being Jesus Born on This Day, a classical religious song that sounds like one of the great Christmas carols. The blend of different genres was intentional. Mariah's co-writer Walter Afanasieff is quoted saying, "It came out of just the respect for Christmas. There are always 3 different areas that Christmas music goes into: traditional Christmas songs, fun kiddie songs like Rudolph or Frosty, and then you have your love songs, which are like chestnuts roasting on an open fire, I'll Be Home for Christmas, all of those kinds of songs. So we decided to write one of each." The album is a staple in Mariah Carey's career and one of her finest achievements. All I Want for Christmas Is You has taken on a life of its own. She's released a movie based on it, a book based around it, and as of 2017, the song has earned the singer a reported $60 million in royalties since it was released. Being that its popularity continuously blooms, it's only likely that it'll grow even more. Although it's had such an amazing legacy, Mariah wasn't as festive when she wrote the song, saying, "I wasn't in the happiest place when I wrote it. My life had changed so quickly, yet I still felt lost, wandering the wild borderlands between childhood and adulthood. My relationship with Tommy Mottola, who would eventually become my first husband, and so much more, was already getting weird, and we weren't even married yet." She goes on to say, "I recorded an entire Christmas album, which was a risk. You just didn't see Christmas videos on MTV back then. In fact, it was almost unheard of for anyone, let alone such a young singer so early in her career, to write and record an original Christmas song that was legit a smash hit." She then says, "I wanted to sing it in a way that would capture joy for everyone and crystallize it forever. Yes, I was going for vintage Christmas happiness. I also believe that somewhere inside, I knew it was too late to give my brother and sister peace, and my mother her wonderful life, but I could possibly give the world a Christmas classic instead." And guess what she did? Just that. Mariah Carey has become such a standalone figure in Christmas culture that during the holiday season, it actually dwarfs the absolute legend Mariah Carey is, which is a significant thing to do because she's a definitive diva and simply one of the most iconic women in pop history. During the Christmas season, that doesn't fade away per se, but the entity that is Mariah Carey takes a background seat as the songbird Supreme effortlessly morphs into the Christmas Supreme. Mariah Carey reinvented Christmas for the modern pop music landscape through her lens, and therefore, the crown is forever rightfully cemented to her.